Now let's look at a demo of how emails can be harvested using Whois information. So coming back, what are basically email relay servers? So even before we go into that, we have to understand email transmission basics. So in the most general case, let's say that bob@b.org is actually sending an email to alice@a.org. So what actually happens is Alice's mail user agent actually sends the email to the SMTP server of a.org. Now the SMTP server of a.org has to first figure out where b.org's mail server actually is. So what it does is it sends an MX query for b.org. Now MX is basically mail exchanger query. What that actually means is give me the IP address of the mail exchanger or the email server for b.org. Now the name server of b.org replies to that, giving back the name of the mail exchanger server of b.org. Once the a.org's SMTP server has that, then it contacts the SMTP server of b.org and then delivers the email which was actually sent by Alice from a.org to bob@b.org. Then finally Bob's mail user agent actually retrieves the email from his local email server. So if you notice, this email exchange or email transmission actually takes place in a very simple process, and that is the email server which has actually received the email checks for the email server of the destination of the email. Once it finds that out using DNS, then it contacts that destination email server and then delivers the email. So with this background in mind, let's look at how email relay servers work. So basically what the spammer is going to do is that, let's say in this example, he wants to send a mail to vivek@securityfreak.net from, let's say, bush@whitehouse.gov. So he's going to set up a chain of email relay servers, either by hacking into them or by using misconfigured servers. And there are a variety of techniques which we might look into in a later video. So he's going to basically use this chain and send the email to the first email relay in that chain, say a.com's email server, which is going to relay that to b.com, which again to c.com, and then finally c.com actually delivers the email to security-freak.net's email server. So if you notice, what this essentially does is it actually adds a lot of email headers when a.com transfers it to b.com and then c and then finally to security-freak.net, which actually makes it very tough to find out whether the email is authentic or not. At the very same time, the spammer's original location itself from where he's sending spam also gets a little bit hidden because of all this relaying which is happening. In a later video, we'll look at how it is possible to trace a spammer's IP address by looking at the email addresses, email headers. So now once a spammer has set up this entire relay, he basically goes ahead and sends the spam. So as far as sending the email is concerned, is it that simple? Unfortunately, yes. The reason being that emails currently are being sent using a protocol called Simple Mail Transfer Protocol, or SMTP. And unfortunately, SMTP is basically a plain text based protocol which does not have any authentication mechanism to actually identify the sender of the email, and thus making it vulnerable to spoofing attacks. What this actually means is, if we actually go back, when the mail server of b.org actually receives an email from someone at a.org, it actually cannot authenticate if this is the email server responsible for a.org. So because of which it gladly and happily receives any mail destined for any of its user, regardless of who is sending the mail. So this actually causes a problem which spammers very easily exploit and send out all these spam mails by using these email server relays. So now coming back, Now let's look at how the SMTP protocol itself works. Now sending email using SMTP is actually a very straightforward procedure and consists mainly of 5 simple steps. In the very first step, when the source email server talks to the destination email server, then it basically introduces itself by using a hello or a hello, which is extended hello command. So these are all actually SMTP commands which are being used by these SMTP servers to communicate between each other. Interestingly, as this entire command set is actually in plain text, it is pretty much human readable. So when the source email server contacts the destination one, first of all it introduces itself by using the hello command. Then after that it actually uses the mail from command to actually send the email address of the person from where the email is originating. So in this case, alice@a.org, right, would be sending the email. In the third step, it basically tells the destination email server for whom is this email meant for, which in our example previously would be bob@b.org. So the recip 2 actually contains bob@b.org. Then finally, if there is a user existing corresponding to bob@b.org, then basically the source email server is actually going to send the actual email data using the data command. And once all the data has been sent, then pretty much a quit command is sent to end the transaction. Now what is important to note here is that there could be many additional steps which might be added depending upon the type of data in between many of these steps. But basically almost all email will essentially have at least these 5 steps. Now let's actually look at how trivial it is to simulate an email transaction and fool a destination email server to believe that you are also an email server. So to do this, now we'll try and send a fake mail using SMTP. So now let's get to the demonstration.